Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Good Roads Podcast. This is your bulletin breakdown for May the 4th, which makes this the Star Wars episode because May the 4th is Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you. And joining us are resident users of the Force, Obi-Wan Blackburn and Darth Barakat. Gentlemen, happy Star Wars Day.
Why do I get Darth Barakat? No, am I the dark, like the forces of the
Dark Lord of Good Roads? We'll redeem you someday, Thomas.
So, okay, is somebody gonna kill me then, or if I just do this, am I? Can I strangle you guys through the screen here?
I think you're one of those more like the Siths that get cut in half and fall down the pits. I get that vibe.
All right.
I'm not sure what's worse.
There were a lot of good Siths in the extended universe. Unfortunately, Disney has taken those out. If anybody's watching on YouTube, let me know your favorite Sith and your favorite chapter of the extended universe. So, anyway, moving on. Before we move on, actually, I want to give a shout out to the millions and millions who died on the Death Star 1 and 2. Those hard workers just out there to support their family, tragically blown up.
Yep. The Star Wars equivalent of the municipal workers, just like doing maintenance, making sure the trash and the water systems work on the Death Star, right?
And they're just trying to feed their families, and little Timmy and little Julie are not going to have a daddy or mommy to come home to.
on that note, I will say, since we're talking about Star Wars, I just got to say, I'm not sure if you guys have seen Andor, but it's actually amazing, and I highly recommend it. Even if you're not into Star Wars, I'm fine with Star Wars, but I'm not like a diehard Star Wars fan. But Andor was amazing.
Yeah, it's on the list. And I like Rogue One was an excellent movie, so I'd like
the new Mandalorian movie's coming out too. I just watched the Darth Maul series. That was fantastic. I love Darth Maul. He's very underrated.
Good reviews for that. I hear I think the new Mandalorian movie is probably going to tank in the box office. I feel like people are not. I feel like they're over it, but you never know. It's like never underestimate Baby Yoda walk-ups, I suppose.
All right, moving on. Let's get this. Let's light this candle and get this going. So everybody knows how this works. We have 3 topics of interest to municipalities. We got 5 minutes for each topic for our contributors to discuss them. And starting off today, we're going to dive right in. Our very first topic, for whom the road tolls. Gentlemen, I've got 5 minutes on the clock. Let's dive into this. Let's get started in 3, 2, 1, go.
Okie doke. Yeah, we're going to talk about road pricing, road tolls. This was in the news this past week. Out in the Maritimes. So I don't know how many listeners head out to the Maritimes very often, but the Premier of New Brunswick is introducing a new road toll at the Nova Scotia border at Olac. And the Prime Minister is not too happy because this kind of flies in the face of reducing
interprovincial trade
barriers. Yeah, and it's like the New Brunswick Premier is saying this is only fair. When we go to PEI, technically when you leave PEI, you have to pay the toll for the Confederation Bridge, and then once you drive into Nova Scotia, there's a highway toll on the 104 going down to Halifax.
I didn't know that. I'm going to be honest. The PEI one I knew. It kind of makes sense. It's a bridge.
Yeah.
It's a pretty long, expensive bridge. But going into Nova Scotia, like when I read this, I thought, I didn't even know there was one.
Well, the thing is, you can the funny thing is okay. If you're driving in through Olac, it's like you kind of can't avoid it. Well, I guess you can't avoid it because like the Ford it's a $4 toll on the highway for the 104 in Nova Scotia, and they're proposing a $4 border crossing toll. So it's obviously a tit for tat kind of toll. It's a little naked.
Yeah, I do find it funny. The premier of Nova Scotia was complaining about it, and I kind of thought to myself, "You guys do this too.
Yeah,
if you remove yours, maybe they'll remove
theirs." The thing
theirs.
is, like you can avoid the toll again, it's like okay, $4 if you're only driving it once. It's like not a big deal. I think it's like the people who are driving it, very
I think
often,
it's important to highlight, Andrew, that it only applies to people outside of who do not reside in the province.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's the same case in Nova Scotia. So in Nova Scotia, it's not the Nova Scotians that are affected by it. It's
actually, what's funny? I just probably realized is like, so when my wife and I went out to the Maritimes, we use Communoto. Communoto is the ride sharing car. It's in various Ontario cities. It's in Toronto and Hamilton, and we could get it out of Halifax. It's, just for people who are traveling, it's a lot easier than renting a car. You just find the car in the app and you pick it up. And we drove to PEI and back. But a lot of the times, it's like a lot of parking costs and a lot of toll costs are covered with this. So I was about to say, this is like, yeah, we probably I can't remember if we avoided the toll. It was like, oh no, we wouldn't have cared. We would have just driven and then it would have come back to us in our bill. But anyway, yeah, it's one of those things where it's like kind of funny. Like we're so the climate on Ontario is so anti-road toll when the city of Toronto was talking about adding a toll. Was it
the Gardner and DVP, I believe.
Yeah, the two that were essentially uploaded to get more funding for it.
Yeah. And then in Ontario, the province passed a law last year. Well, there was another version of it this year, but they basically have passed law saying road toll, no one can have any road tolls, which
exactly. But it's kind of interesting. So I found this other aspect of the story is polling in Quebec, which I found very, very interesting. So they just did some polling in Quebec about just like what is the appetite for road tolling for themselves to fix the roads, and it's actually half and half. And you would probably I found that to be fairly surprisingly high.
Right.
That half the population is willing to pay more to actually have their roads fixed. So this is something that I should have double checked. What's the infrastructure deficit in Quebec? I have heard vague stories in the past before. So I think it's kind of like a same problematic issue in Quebec as it is in Ontario.
Yeah,
so
I hear, anecdotally from people who say that the roads are worse in Quebec, especially in the Montreal area.
Yeah,
but. We probably could verify that, in terms of actual numbers.
I'd be very, very interested if we ever did some polling like that in Ontario. It's there are places where the roads are in shambles. And it's like, how willing are people to the government isn't funding it.
Yeah. So before we wrap this, because I know we're getting close to the end here, I just want to make one more point. Last episode and the couple episodes before, we talked about highways 11 and 17, and you talked about how in Quebec there is appetite for road tolls. Mm-hmm. And this is not going to happen. But what if we tolled highways 11 and 17 in certain areas, only for out of province plates or vehicles, and use that money to fund the upgrades that are so badly needed to highways 11 and 17. I know it's not going to happen, but
we got tons and tons of truck traffic. I think we should so they changed. So just as a quick aside, that Confederation Bridge. I was looking at the history of this because it started lower and it actually went up to about $50, and then there was a period where they were actually charging per axle on the Confederation Bridge for tolling. So it's just more axles, more tolls. Maybe we can get this. Maybe this is the pathway forward to finally get the work done on the 11 and 17.
All right. Let's wrap it up there. It seems like there is a much bigger conversation to be had about tolls and roads and who should be fixing them and all that. But we'll leave that for another time. Maybe a longer, long-form podcast. Might be an episode for the future, Mr. Thomas. We can talk about that.
Let's get an economist on.
Exactly. Anyway, let's move on to our next topic. Speed limit reduction measures have seen significant impacts. Gentlemen, we've got 5 minutes back on the clock. We're going to get this started in 3, 2, 1. Let's go.
Yeah, thanks, Jared. Yeah, so speed limit reductions are working. So anytime we talk about reducing speed limits, there's always kind of this counter argument or complaint or maybe not grievance is a word, but our counter argument that says, well, if we slow down or if we lower the speed limit, it's going to slow everything down. Cars are going to drive slower. People are going to be late to work. Goods are going to move slower. Turns out that's not what's really happening. So a Eurocities survey looked at 38 cities across 19 countries that lowered their urban speed limits. So we're not talking about highways right now, just urban speed limits, typically to about 30 kilometers an hour, some even down to 20 kilometers an hour. So 75% of those cities reported fewer deaths and injuries, and that's a pretty significant majority of respondents. 91% saw broader benefits. So that includes like fewer accidents, less noise, less air pollution, and more people walking and cycling. And then there's that key finding that I mentioned. There was no major impact on congestion, traffic volumes, or journey times. So that kind of slowdown that the opponents had feared was going to happen didn't, right? So it wasn't easy to kind of do this. Like in 45% of these cities, they faced strong political opposition, and 37% had public pushback before the changes went in. But what's really interesting, and what I find very interesting, is that support for these measures actually ended up growing after implementation. Mm-hmm. Once people actually experienced the change, the opposition to actually dropped pretty significantly. And it's kind of a classic case of a fear of change being worse than the change itself. And I can tell you, as someone who's has been to Europe multiple times and driven in a lot of these, maybe some of these places, not all, but some, I've seen it with my own two eyes. And then you come back here and you try to talk about it, and people look at you like you're absolutely insane, and it can never.
Yeah. Well, it's like it's kind of interesting because it's like once you actually get there, it's like, oh wow, that's a lot nicer when I can actually experience my neighborhood. And I think once people get out of the car, that's the biggest change. It's like, the neighborhoods are nicer, they're more walkable, they're more accessible. I hope the same thing happens in Hamilton, because we're doing a as part of the many steps to getting LRT in Hamilton. And this is also part of another conversation. They're converting Main Street, which is essentially the highway right through the middle of downtown, from a one-way street to a two-way street. Yeah. And it's going to be a complete revamp, and it's going to be like, they're going to be prepping for the LRT, but it's going to slow things down. There's more likely going to be a reduced speed limit. They're going to have bump outs. It's like right in the middle of downtown, we have this highway, and it's just a treacherous stretch for pedestrians and stuff like that. And it's just like, once people actually get out, and then again, like this is another thing where it's like, one-way streets, the advantages of. I think this should be a future story where we talk about the advantages of, the overstated advantages of one-way streets, where it's just like kills businesses. People are hesitant to stop. People drive faster, and like for the people who are actually downtown, it's like it's going to be much more like easier to get around. It's going to be much friendlier. It's going to be like more like a downtown should feel. And right. Part of that will be reducing the speed limit. So like they're opposed to it now.
But when it changes,
they want to get around town.
A better place. I hope this placemaking, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I really hope that people turn around when it's actually in place. When it's eventually done. So the polling on this is.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, and this kind of ties back to the previous story we did, but I do remember what people talk about in Sweden when they first introduced a congestion charge or a road toll going into Stockholm. They did something similar. They polled people before, and then they actually had a referendum. So people were opposed to it. They had a referendum on whether to keep it after it was put into place, and it passed because people saw how how much of a more positive the changes kind of were. Yeah.
And we've seen some polling on this for the New York congestion taxes as well, where it's just like
that's a good point.
I can't remember what the actual ratio of pro and con, or like for and against, but opposition has gone down because they realize it's like, wow, there's a lot less traffic in here. it's actually nicer. We can get around,
Yeah, and I wonder if the same thing would happen with speed limits.
Yeah. Well, and I think it was part of the story in this, where it's just like, it wasn't just like it was a reduction in pollution and noise pollution, and just makes things nicer.
All right, that's a nice way to end that topic. It makes things nicer. All right, let's move on to our last and final topic. We've got Uber X, Uber Black, Uber North. 5 minutes on the clock, gentlemen. In 3, 2, 1, let's go.
Yeah, and I was hoping that's how you would intone that, Jared. This is kind of like slightly old news, because this was a part of previous. I can't remember if it was part of a previous legislation, or, but like, it was announced. It was a month. Yeah, it was announced previously. Yeah. But in anticipation of the return of the Northlander, the government is looking at different options to bring people into that rail corridor between Toronto and Timmins up to Cochrane. So the so-called last mile, which I thought was kind of funny, because I think they're aiming at, they're looking at a 30-kilometer.
Well, the conversion between north and south.
No, exactly.
1 mile is 30, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. It's like the miles get a lot longer once you get north of Bloor. So they're looking at simplifying the requirements for rideshare operators like Uber and Lyft to operate up there. I don't know if you've all been paying attention over the news over the 10 years, but whenever Uber moves into a new city, there's like a battle between the city and the taxi operators, and these American conglomerates who are moving in, and then they win over. But of course, this is sort of sidestepping that, and it's definitely taking out local communities and the taxi operators out of the equation. So, a little bit of an uproar in the news from a lot of those small business owners up in the north who are really going to be affected the most there. And it's kind of interesting that when this was all introduced, in these previous debates with Uber, I feel like it kind of reminds me of the AV story that we were just doing, and it's
about in rural areas.
Yeah, well, no, but it was just the conversation around Uber and Lyft has changed over the past 10 years. Where it's just before, it wasn't like people's jobs. It was you're just doing this on the side, you're just doing this. But the economy has changed so much where it's just these actually are people's full-time jobs. So if you're bringing in all the robot cars, all these gig workers are going to be out of jobs. But now that the tables turned with this story, where it's just now we're actually threatening the taxi operators up there who really, really rely on these tourist seasons to carry them forward. Right. And now they're sort of diluting the marketplace up there. Well, in the name of competition.
I'll say the counter argument is competition, right? And so I guess for me, I read this and I'm so first of all, I'm not from Northern Ontario, so I don't know what the landscape really kind of is up there. But I do know this. When I heard the Northlander was coming back, I thought, this would be great for tourism. I would love to I don't want to drive up north, but I would love to just take a train up north, start a vacation, and then drive maybe when I'm up there, rent a car, that sort of thing, right? So I'm looking at this, and I was looking at the schedules. Let's say I'm gonna talk about Timiskaming Shores, since we love Timiskaming Shores.
Yeah,
and people from Timiskaming Shores.
And it's a good example because they do have a good transit system, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. So if you're going to Timiskaming Shores, right? If you're coming from Toronto, you know what time you get there? 2:10 a.m.
If it's on time.
If it's on time. Right? 2:10 in the morning. Let's say you don't know anyone there. You're not going home. You're just going as a tourist, right? And this is, again, I know this is not designed just for tourists, but let's say that. So I looked up where the station is, and the station is probably about a 20-minute walk from the closest hotel.
Yeah.
It's kind of just on the edge of the city, I guess, where the railway kind of just goes there. So, 18-minute walk, 20-minute walk at 2:10 in the morning. You're not going to probably not going to do that if you're not from there. Are there now? I don't know. Would there be taxis at that time? Because
that's the thing is like I have a feeling that like they would be reactive. They'd be like, okay, now I know there's going to be some a train coming, so there could be some customers.
Yeah.
So, but that's another thing with the gig workers. It's like I wonder how much this is actually going to be effective, because it's like, oh, are they going to be like, oh, time to get up, going to set an alarm, going to get out and see if I get any calls? And
like, because I know sometimes, flying into Northern Ontario, as again, someone from the South, I go and there's no taxis outside, and I thought, don't they know what time the planes land? Because you'd think a few of them would be there waiting.
Well, the funny thing is like I remember I was in Calgary a couple of years ago, and like my friends live way out in the deep north, and I remember it's like, okay, I'll just call an Uber from to get home. And I remember when the guy picked me up, he said like, yeah, I was about to go to bed, and then like I just he wasn't out on the road, he was at home. He just happened to have Uber on, and an Uber like drive like option came up. It was like, I suppose that's also how it could work in Timiskaming Shores, where it's just like, it's like it's going to see who shows up within a 30 kilometer radius. It's like, hey, do I want to drive out to the train station for a 30 kilometer fare? Because I assume I wonder what the Uber bill is if you're coming from to Timiskaming Shores 30 kilometers out. It's got to be a decent paycheck.
All right, let's wrap it up there. Excellent conversation, gentlemen. I think might just be a bigger problem than just Northern Ontario too. I mean, looking at the GO trains going up to Barrie on the weekend, there's one or two a day. And even that,
this is something that'll affect different areas differently, where it's just like, we got Muskokas, but like as soon as you get up into some of these stops, there's going to be like very, very limited options, where it's just like, sure, there's taxis here, but there might not be taxis there.
I don't know. We'll see if that's the solution, but
we'll very interested to see how this plays out.
Yeah. All right. We'll wrap it up there, and let's move on to our something fun. And once again, Mr. Thomas has something fun. So it's going to be a shock to all of us. So let's let's see what we got.
Well, thanks, Jared. Yeah. So last week, our listeners will remember that I went on a rant. This week, it's going to be the opposite of a rant. It's going to be something that's very positive. And so a lot of you have probably seen this clip already, it was very heartening to see it when I saw it. But Buffalo Sabres, there was a playoff game. And I did not know who was against, but the news that I saw was that, hey, they were singing "O Canada," and the vocalist, the singer, her mic kind of cut out, and the fans started kind of singing "O Canada," kept it going, and it was really nice. I watched it; it was actually a really nice clip. Now, I haven't been watching hockey as much as I used to, so I was like, "Oh, which Canadian team are the Sabres playing?" Because I was like, "Okay, what?" Because they're playing the Canadian anthem. It was Boston, okay. And again, you guys probably know this. I did not. But apparently the Buffalo Sabres, they play the Canadian national anthem before their game, every game, regardless of whether they're playing Canadian or American team. And they've been doing that since apparently 1972. And that's kind of an honor or an acknowledgement that a lot of their fans are in Canada and they come to the games.
So I'm a bit of a hockey fan, but I did not know that they played that every game. But it kind of makes sense. It's like, and this is part of that argument where it's just like, why don't the sorry, and this is a joke that I think it was Bill Denning told me. Why doesn't Hamilton have an NHL team? Because then Toronto would want one too. Anyway, so but the real answer is that like Toronto and Buffalo, like they would really cannibalize each other's fans, and I think Buffalo strongly would, like, because we have a lot of people from Hamilton and Niagara region that is just like, it's just easier to go to Sabres games, and it's cheaper to go to Sabres games. I went to a Penguins game for my birthday a couple years ago.
But I just, for me, it was a very nice thing to see. It's kind of a reminder that with all the tensions going on between, the Trump administration and our government, and all these threats and kind of really, people trying to blow up this relationship. It's nice to see that the average, American, these are our neighbors, these are our friends.
Yeah.
And it was very nice to see it. And I
know, Thomas, you and I are like, we're kind of on a boycott. Neither of us have traveled to the United States in a long time, but I just want to do a quick shout out when things soften. I am excited to go back to Buffalo. A little Buffalo shout out. I've been there many times. Buffalo is a cool place. There's good craft beers. There's like cool neighborhoods. Like the Allentown area is very, very nice. And I do love me a beef on weck, guys. If you guys have not had a beef on weck,
I don't even know what that is.
it's like a roast beef sandwich on a bun with big crunchy salt and caraway seeds. It is. People go to Buffalo for the wings. I highly recommend going to the Beef on Weck. I went there a couple of years ago. I did a Beef on Weck tour. Just like, there's because you can get like fast food style beef on weck. I think it's called Charlie the Butcher. That there's a couple of different locations. That's like your standard walk in and get a takeout. There's a place out in Aurora called Schwabel's. That's your fancy beef on weck where you sit down and you actually got a tablecloth and it's nice. But then there's also a place, my favorite, Kelly's Corner. It's a dirty pub up on the north side for your gritty down home beef on weck. Try them all, folks.
And that too, like Buffalo's got some incredible architecture too, like the old school, the stonework in there. When I go to the Sabres games, or when I used to go to the Sabres games, it used to be for the Coyotes. And funny enough, the last Coyotes game I saw was in Buffalo with my kids at their first NHL game. There's a parking spot just on the other side of the Labatt Brew House, which has incredible burgers and beer. It's all like red brick stone. You see all the manufacturing buildings.
There's lots of places that are cool like that downtown. And also, like a couple of years ago, my wife and I went to Buffalo. We did like a Frank Lloyd Wright tour. There's like a bunch of old Frank Lloyd Wright buildings scattered around that you can actually go and visit.
Buffalo's a fantastic city. Last October, I went to Nashville for a work thing. And it was the Jays were in it with the Dodgers in the World Series. And it's funny because like I figured I'm down in the States, people are going to be cheering for the Dodgers. No, everybody in Nashville is like, screw the Dodgers, go Jays.
Interesting.
And that was after they apologized for their president, and Canada's a cool country and we love Canadians and all of that stuff. But
it's nice to hear that.
I'm not sure if that
has to do with like if there's some sort of intrinsic hatred towards the Dodgers in the
I think there is. It's kind of like they hate the Yankees and they hate the Dodgers, right? Like
that, and it was in Tennessee, so I don't know if they wanted their liquor money back for the whiskey and all of the stuff.
They're trying to make nice. I get it.
Nashville's a beautiful city, though. I would go back in a heartbeat. But no, that's fantastic to hear, Mr. Thomas. Maybe your Sith redemption arc has come full circle. That your heart's grown 3 sizes, and
what am I, the Grinch now?
Hey, I feel like Toronto sports fans should be like, we should have a certain kinship with Buffalo, since the Sabres and the Bills are, perennial losers. Hopefully this year is the year where the Sabres go far.
Yeah, that's true. And then they'll not be like Leafs fans, where the Leafs haven't done anything in the playoffs in the last 2 decades.
Exactly. That's exactly what I want to happen. It's like, where's your cup, guys? Even the Sabres got one.
I think that's one of the funniest things to happen in sports, is when something like that just keeps happening no matter how hard you try. But I'm sure we just lost a lot of fans who are also Leafs.
Anyway. Yeah, hit us up in the comments.
If you're watching on YouTube, leave us a comment. Hate mail, I don't care. Tell me how much you love the Leafs, and leave us a comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Guelph Road School just ended. If you missed it, you missed your TJ Mahoney's. Your CRS is you're looking to get that, remember the Good Roads has online courses, and a bunch of the CRS designation requirements are also Good Roads online courses, and you can do those all year long. Check them out at goodroads.ca/education. Yeah, if you're listening, like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. We love to hear from you. And until next time, everybody, take it easy.